Hi, welcome to Good Grief, Cultivating Confidence. I'm your host and presenter for today, Dr. Michelle Pedicola. Have you ever felt not good enough, unworthy? I have. Yeah, me, PhD, best-selling author, award-winning filmmaker. Surprised? What do you think motivates high achievers? Fear of worthlessness, caused by maybe not enough love, not enough attention, abandonment. Those were my issues. Maybe it was abuse or emotional trauma. Any of these things can cause the loss of self-worth. And self-worth is part of confidence. Now you might be thinking, well, what's the problem? Look at all you've achieved. Well, achievement is not the same as self-confidence. In fact, sometimes it produces the opposite results. For me, I thought my PhD was my ticket to worthiness. It was my ticket to rejection. I asked my dad what he thought of my PhD. Well, he was ashamed because he never got his college degree. I asked my boss to introduce me to social services as Dr. Pedicola's. You know what he told me? He said, "Why don't you tattoo it to your forehead?" And then my husband left me for another woman when I got promoted and he got fired. Well, my whole sense of worthiness, of my value, was turned on its head. So I ran away to a spiritual community where relationships and achievement don't matter. Huh. But in reality, what I did was traded my father, my boss, and my husband for my spiritual teacher. Achievement does not guarantee you confidence, because if you're doing the achievement because you're seeking approval, then you're not confident. You are putting all your power into somebody else's bucket. And some of those people are not reliable in terms of really giving you the right feedback. So the opposite of confidence is what I call approval addiction. When everything you do is focused on trying to get somebody to say, yeah, you're good, nice girl, good girl, excellent. The problem is that it worked for me for a long time until it didn't. That's when I had to start learning how to develop my confidence. Let's take a moment and look at confidence. So I already talked about the difference between confidence and approval addiction. Achievement does not necessarily create confidence, although certainly achievement can produce confidence. And we will talk about that a little bit later. But if your purpose is to get people to approve of you, then you're not building your confidence. So what is confidence? What does it mean? It comes from the Latin word confidere. 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 If you break it apart, con, in this case, is an emphasizing prefix. Instead of it meaning together, which is what con usually means, it's emphasizing or making it more intensified. Fidere comes from the Latin word fidelis, which means faith. So confidence is faith in yourself. It is the belief that you have the capability, the intelligence, the capacity to do what you need to do what you want to do what you love to do. to be successful, that you can trust your intuition, that you can trust your values, that you can trust your ideas. Faith. Now that sounds like a pretty wild idea, but that's what it is. And you know, the other word, confidant, is faith in somebody else. A confidant is somebody that you feel safe expressing your true self with. So that's where the word confidence comes from. So what happens to our confidence? Do we have to learn this through our lives, or are we actually born and brought into this world with a certain amount of confidence? Well, when we come into this world, we actually come in very dependent, very vulnerable, in bodies that are not very capable. And we are dependent on other people for our most basic needs. This makes us very, very vulnerable to the whims and wills of other people. And because it's our first experience in this world, at least as far as we can remember, the people in our lives who provide us with our safety and support have a huge influence on us. And they can impact our confidence. Maybe they're overcritical. Maybe they're too protective, which can also undermine your confidence because you'll never be able to have an opportunity to try out your capabilities. Or maybe they are violent, or maybe they are absent, or maybe, like me, abandonment. And even abandonment for a little time, like, a few months when you're 2 years old, has a huge impact. So childhood programming has a huge impact on your sense of confidence. So there's another thing that affects your confidence, and that is cultural expectation. So for example, if you happen to be born a woman in a world that emphasizes the power of men and their superiority, then you might feel less confident. In fact, I remember one time I was living in Santa Fe and I got into an argument about whether women or men were more reliable employees. And I, being a PhD in sociology, had read the studies. But here was this man saying, oh no, women should make less money because they are less reliable. And I said, no, you're wrong. There have been studies that show that women are actually more reliable employees. And he said, show me the proof. And I said to him, excuse me, I'm the PhD here. You show me your proof. Well, I was confident, right? But the social conditioning, the culture, in fact, one of the other people in the conversation jumped in and said, oh, no, I'll look at it, rather than have us continue to argue. But that is part of the problem of cultural expectation. Now, if you happen to have the wrong color and be seen as not as smart, not as capable, this can have a huge influence on you in school. They did a study, a psychological study, in which they told teachers that a particular student of a different color was actually really, really smart. And then they had other control group where they didn't do that. And they found that just by putting that idea in the mind of the teacher, that student, it boosted their results in their tests and in their performance by 50%. It had a huge impact on their ability to succeed just because they changed the mindset of the teacher. So cultural expectations have a huge impact, as well as the conditioning of your parents. Now, I've mentioned that your parents can treat you in certain ways that reduce your confidence. I don't want to bash parents because chances are your parents had a worse time than you did. At least my parents did. My father lost his mother when he was 8 years old. She went off on a trip to visit her family in Texas and never returned. She died on the trip. And his brother, who was taking her there, he went off to California. My mother was what they call a latchkey kid because both her parents worked, and all she had was a maid to look after her when she came home. And her father was an alcoholic. So this had a huge impact on her confidence. So not only do we get our confidence through the way in which parents treat us, but we also inherited almost from their epigenes their own feelings of confidence. If they don't feel confident, they will convey that to you. So those are some of the main sources of loss of confidence. But I know you're here to find out how to boost your confidence. That's what I promised, how to cultivate confidence. Oh, one more thing, loss of confidence, stress and overwhelm. So maybe you have confidence, but maybe you go through a major life crisis or challenge. You lose your job. Your spouse leaves you. Somebody dies. Your financial provider dies or leaves you. A divorce. Any of these things can shake your confidence in how good you are. So now let's look at what can boost your confidence. 3 keys to cultivating confidence. The first one is behavior. You have to change what you're doing. Confidence will not come in the middle of the night and just, some magic fairy touches you on the head and now you're confident. You have to do things that develop confidence. What kind of things? Things that are out of your comfort zone. That will change your confidence. So after my parents died, actually, before my parents died, my mother conveyed to me a really important piece of information. Live your passion, or you may die with regret. And my mother was the poster child for living passion. She was a toy designer. She took her toy designs to major companies in New York City. That strikes me as confident. But she had regrets. There was one project that she really, really wanted to see birthed in the world and sold to companies and produced. But she ran out of time. She died way too young. But this had a huge impact on me. I said, oh my goodness, if she could have regrets, where did that leave me? A person who spent my whole life looking out into the world and finding out what other people wanted of me. It changed my behavior. I decided to make a documentary film on life and death, because I saw life and death as an opportunity to change your life. And I wanted to wake people up to the fact that life is wonderful and has great possibilities, but it's limited. And if we don't seize the opportunity, we may have regrets. So when I started making my documentary, I had a lot of fears. But in doing it, I developed confidence, because I developed confidence in being able to interview people, being able to attract people who would help me, being able to find the right solutions. And when you succeed, you do develop confidence. Now, of course, I was terrified the whole time that I was going to make a crappy film. And I was so worried about that I attracted somebody who said, oh, you made a crappy film. It devastated me. My husband had to scrape me off the floor. But you know what kept me going was my commitment to others. That I had interviewed these people and had gotten them to participate in my project. And I had to stand up for them. So it's a little bit of approval, but it also boosted my confidence. So let's see, what else? You need to change your language. So you need to change your behavior. You need to step out of your box. You need to change. Let me put up the next one. You need to change how you talk about yourself. If you talk about yourself in deprecating terms, oh, I didn't really do it that well, or oh, I'm not that good, that's going to not only impact everybody else who listens to you, it impacts your own cells in your own body. So you have to change the languaging. And there's a whole bunch of different kinds of words that you want to use, such as instead of it's hard, it's a challenge, so that you don't set yourself up for failure. You need to reprogram your mindset to believe in yourself. You might want to change your appearance so that you appear more confident. I heard a story about a woman who actually changed her attire. I think she put dark red nail polish on her fingernails and suddenly became a phenomenal salesperson. So sometimes little tweaks like that can really make a difference. You need to pay attention. What's working and what's not working. Because you're going to be taking action and not all of it's going to work. And you want to notice, where are your fears coming up? Where are your resistances? Because you need to work on them. So the wonderful thing about behavior is that it will bring up the habits and beliefs that hold you back. And you can take a more careful look at them. They always say, have compassion for yourself. Love yourself and accept what you can do and understand that you're not always going to get it right. Celebrate is really important. You need to encourage your body to keep on trying new things out. Even if it doesn't succeed, you still want to celebrate, to acknowledge what you're doing. And finally, in addition to paying attention, adapting. That is, don't keep on doing the same thing if it's not working. Don't go off and do something that you really hate. Go for things that you really love to do, that excite you, that inspire you. So the next key is others. Now, others are very significant in terms of losing confidence, like your parents or the cultural conditioning, but they also can be essential in helping you to find your way towards your confidence. An encouraging coach or mentor or accountability buddy. You decide you're going to do something different, and you have somebody that you can share that with that will help you to celebrate. So others are hugely important in that way. Now, sometimes others are going to resist your change. If you become more confident, you start doing different things, and your partner or your friends feel threatened by that, they may try and pull you down. They might try and bring you back. So be aware of that in terms of others. Also be aware that there isn't a law of attraction working here. That the people that you had in your childhood, you often attract into your life even now. Now, this may be just the macabre sense of humor that our universe has, but I personally believe it's spirit trying to help you to change the way in which you behave, to heal the problems. So, for example, I'm a perfectionist and I hate being criticized. So what did I do? I got a job in New York. This was years ago. And I got a boss who criticized me for his own mistakes. Now, I'm okay, sort of, with mistakes that I am aware of that are my mistakes. But I hate mistakes that are blamed on me that are not mine. And this VP, vice president, was doing that to me. And I started getting really stressed out. And I decided, maybe I need to start recording him. Maybe I need to start taking notes. And I went home and I thought about it. Now, this job was a temp job. This was back when I decided that I was not good enough and that I was just going to do temp work. Well, and I also wanted to go out to the spiritual community every summer, so I wanted the flexibility. So I thought about it and I said, well, I don't need to keep this job. I'm just a temp. But it had been a hard time getting the job, and this job was going to take me to the summer. So I thought about it a while and I decided, okay, I'm going to treat this as an opportunity to handle criticism, whether it's legitimate or not, and not get triggered. And I set this intention and I went into my job saying, I'm going to learn how to not let this bug me. And within a week, my boss was transferred from New York to Ohio. He was promoted. And I was in that job long enough for him to call me at home one time and tell me how much he appreciated me, and to not let the other VP abuse me or overwork me. Just a change in mindset. This can work with relationships. If you feel victimized by people in your life, to change your mindset, to think about it in a different way, not as a victim, but as an opportunity to grow and learn. And finally, support. Others can provide you with support. They can encourage you. Like I said, an accountability buddy, or a coach, or a mentor, somebody who can help to show you the way. Because it's very hard to listen to this mind if this mind has been programmed to not think very good about you. So you want a mind, you want a map, a roadmap that's going to help change you, that comes from somebody who's already been there. And if you're interested, I actually have a couple of programs, self-study programs, that I'm offering for the next week at 25% off. If you would like to know about it, I encourage you to have a conversation with me. Now, normally I would send you to my website, but my website is in the process of being renovated. So what I want you to do is go to meetwithdrmichelle.com and schedule a free 15-minute discovery session to find out how I can help you, either with my own work or give you an idea of what else you can do. And the discount code, which will make it free, is COMP, C-O-M-P, #1. And now, spirit. So spirit is the third key. What do I mean by spirit? I mean, you are a spiritual being having a human adventure. And you need to cultivate this aspect of yourself, this aspect that is beyond this body and this world. And how do you do that? The best way for me is spiritual practice, meditation. Meditation relaxes your body. Often it involves breathing, deep breathing that helps you to relax. It calms your emotions. It calms you down. It makes you think in different ways, because when you're in that meditative state, it actually creates new neural pathways in your brain to parts of your brain that you never had connected before. So it comes up with novel and creative solutions. So I highly recommend that you do meditation every day. It will change your life. It will make it easier for you to change your mindset. It will make it easier for you to notice when you are acting out of integrity to yourself. So if you've had trouble with meditating, you've tried sitting meditation and you find that your monkey mind just jumps all over the place, I would like to offer you an alternative. Once a week at 9 o'clock in the morning, I have a Sufi meditation class. This is the spiritual work I do, and it's a moving meditation class. So unlike sitting meditation, This meditation gives something for your mind to focus on. So instead of trying to stop thinking, you park your brain somewhere. You get it focused and attached to some other thought, some other place. So if you want to, you can register for this class. And once you register, you will get emails from me once a week reminding you about the class, just once a week. And they often have really great information in them. So you go to sendfox.com, Secrets of Life and Death. So let's summarize. First of all, achievement is not the same thing as confidence. Now, achievement can boost your confidence, but if it is done for the purpose of approval, if you are addicted to approval, you need to change that particular behavior. And sometime you might want to ask me what my process was to get over my addiction to approval. Confidence is trust in yourself and realistic trust in your capabilities, your intelligence, your beliefs, and your values. One of the things that undermines your confidence is social programming, both your parents and your culture, that may leave you feeling less than worthy. And so you actually have to reprogram your brain and your body so that you can boost your confidence. And the 3 keys of boosting that confidence is changing your behavior, attracting and bringing others into your life that are going to support your change, and also working on your spirit. Now, spirit by itself is not going to change it all, but it can help a great deal. So that's all I have. Be brilliant, and bye for now.